call it people technology.
インテル入ってる。
Well, it's been a series of low-scoring games in Chennai. In that context, how important is that finish? Those two sixes by Kieron Pollard of the last two balls to take Mumbai Indians to 150 in their 20 overs. The first team to win the toss and bat first in this IPL 2021. It didn't look any easier than it has in the past. Let's get thoughts from Sanjay Manjrekar and Ian Bishop on Maruti Suzuki Presents ESPN Cricket for T20 Time Out, powered by Intel. How important are those two shots right at the end, Ian Bishop?
I'll tell you in an hour and a half. It certainly helped Mumbai Indians to get up to that 150 mark, which is, I think it's about par. Even though teams, Raunak and Sanjay, have not chased it in the last two games, that 150, 155, I think both teams should have chased it, but it does give Mumbai something to work with.
Okay. There's the score that they defended against KKR was 152. Sanjay, RCB managed to defend 149 in the last game against Sunrisers. But all things considered, what kind of score is 150?
I agree with Bish. I think it's just about par, thanks to the power of Pollard, and this is where Pollard is amazing. In the end, if Mumbai Indians manage to win this game, it all comes down. It's an amazing format, T20 cricket. It may just come down to the last two shots that Pollard played, and the last one was incredible, where I think he got just about 35% of the bat blade, but it's good enough to take the ball over the rope. So. Yeah, I think it's just about par, and don't get too influenced by the failed run chases in the earlier couple of games. Batsmen who got in and who were set looked like they could get a 50 or a 70. It's only when you give your wicket away and the new batsmen come in, they just struggle to get into the chase. So the lessons learned from the last two games for me as an observer is that if a batsman is in, he must ensure that he takes his team to the end, because the struggle is for the new batsman to come in and get used to the pace.
Okay, fine. I want to discuss that with regards to Quinton de Kock's innings in just a moment. But since we're discussing Pollard, we discussed him in the pre-match show as well, Bish. Mumbai with a slight tweak today to send him in ahead of both Pandya brothers. You feel like if you give Pollard a little more time, you tend to see this. We've seen this before. He tends to explode if you give him a few balls that he can use up.
Yeah, and this is where I want people to at least listen carefully to what I'm saying, because I've been saying this for a number of years. I know Pollard very well. I've seen his game from the start of his career till now. And people are always of the view that Pollard is the guy to walk in and smash the ball out of the park. I'm telling you, he does not prefer that. He prefers to give himself time. The teams he's played in, he doesn't always get to play that role. He's a better player if he comes in, gets time, and then goes off. It's not to say he can't go off straight away, but that is good, but it's not when he's at his best. This sort of thing, give him time.
I guess if you compare him with who else they have for these roles, and Krunal and Hardik Pandya tend to come out before him, Sanjay, but you have to pick between the three. If you can only afford one guy to actually take a few more balls, you think Pollard is better suited to that sort of having that sort of role than a Hardik or a Krunal Pandya?
Depends on the surface and the kind of bowling attack. On this pitch, and with bowlers taking the pace off, there was a bit of spin going as well. Hardik Pandya not the ideal candidate. You would want Pollard to come in, because Pollard can smash the mystery spinners also for sixes. We've seen that in the recent past. So depending on the pitch and the opposition, the bowling of the opposition, I thought it was a good call to send Pollard, but not every time. On certain occasions, maybe Hardik is a better bet. The problem for Mumbai Indians, if they want to send Pollard higher, then there is Surya and Ishan Kishan to worry about. How do they use them? So that is the thing. They've just got plenty of batting talent there.
Okay, now the point that you made, we've heard that on our network before, set batsmen must make it count. Now you have Quinton de Kock, who's, as it turns out, who's ended up with a run of ball 40, Sanjay, and there's a partnership in the middle of that innings where Ishan Kishan and Mim put together 27 of 33. Now what's happened there? Because they've got off to a good start, but then it looked like as the innings got into its middle phase and before the last five, it just got harder and harder for de Kock and Kishan. What's happened there?
When I said that batsmen in need to stay in and not sort of leave it for the others to get it, it's in a run chase. Batting first is a slightly different proposition. And what happened there with Quinton de Kock and Ishan Kishan is very rarely you see Mumbai Indians trapped in a situation where they have two left-handers out there. They're so big on having a left-hand, right-hand combination. And that was there for a while. Almost 4 overs they were together. Ishan Kishan and Quinton de Kock got about 26 runs. And that's when, Rashid Khan thrived, and so did Mujib, bowling their googlies and taking the pace off. So maybe a little tactical error, but they must have felt Ishan Kishan is so good against spin, they would not have foreseen this.
What is it about teams batting first at Chennai this season, Vish, that they haven't been able to crack the code even if they've started well? It's not been batting collapses, batting first, and yet teams find their way to 145, 150, 155. What's it that they're not getting right here?
Batting first, the challenge in T20 cricket, especially Raunak, as we all know, is what is a good total batting first. And it's become something that has become harder to judge, even in good conditions in recent years. On this pitch, where the nature of the pitch tends to play so differently from, let's say, over 9, 10 onwards, a dramatic slowing up in the pace and gripping of the ball, I think teams understandably struggle to know how to pace the innings. Remember with the RCB game, Virat Kohli was disgusted with himself because he set himself, as Sanjay has advised, to bat through the innings, and then he just got trapped down the back end and he wanted to go deeper. So I don't think it's simple stitching two halves of the same innings together because of the way the nature of the pitch changes a little bit and the behavior of the ball off the surface changes.
Right? Sunrisers went with a different bowling attack. With the evidence of the first 20 overs, did they bowl well enough for you, Sanjay? Let's start with Mujibur Rahman, who was used in the middle and the end as well. Did they bowl well enough?
Mujib not as well as obviously Rashid Khan. I thought Vijay Shankar was a revelation. Khalil Ahmed did quite well. Bhuvaneshwar Kumar had the tough task of bowling the last over, so that was understandable with Pollard out there. Mujibur Rahman, you would say, bowled well, but that's about it. That's what you get with Mujibur Rahman. You get the carom ball and you'll get the googly. And if a batsman picks him and goes after him, he's liable to get punished. As we saw, there was 1 6 hit by Pollard, and Rohit Sharma also, played him well, just stayed on the back foot to hit him. So he did okay.
Okay, is that where we reserve judgment, Vish, for Sunrisers bowlers, or regardless of whether they chase this down or no, they've done well enough?
Booby will say that 45 off his 4 is a bit too much in the conditions. I mean, even if Pollard takes after you, the quality of Bhuvaneshwar Kumar, still, he will tell you, hey, I shouldn't be going for that many runs, given the context of the way the innings went. Mujib was steady. Rashid, they kept him wicketless, but Rashid continues to be who he is. And as Sanjay said, Vijay Shankar was effective enough bowling cutters and stuff on that surface. Khalil bowled with some seriously good pace. I really hope that he finds some consistency across his career, because ever since I saw him in under 19 cricket, I have a lot of time for his ability. But we obviously will know much more once we see the run chase and how that pans out.
Yeah, I mean, on that point of... Yes, please, Sanjay.
Just quick point on Bhuvaneshwar Kumar. You
Yes.
saw him doing something that is a learned kind of performance. He's seen a lot of bowlers, and we've talked about it, who, in order to escape punishment, are looking for the extremely full delivery or they're going short. And in recent time, batsmen have become so good at these variations that these are actually becoming the reason for the punishment that the bowlers are getting. So when you watch the last over, he trusted the length ball, the ball in the slot, but he took the pace off. And it worked in the first 3 or 4 deliveries. It worked before Pollard, hit him out of the ground. So it was a punt, which was well thought out, and that went wrong. And the last ball was a mistime one, but when Pollard missed, and it still goes for a 6. But it wasn't bad bowling as much as just an outcome of something that was executed with a lot of thought.
Okay, well, he's gone for 45 for the second time this season in 3 games, Bhuvaneshwar Kumar. And SRH have conceded 35 in the last 3. They conceded 39 in the last 3 against RCB. So maybe it's a conversation to pick up at the end of the game if they do go down. But Vijay Shankar's 3 overs, did prove to get wickets. And Sanjay does seem like he adds a lot of value to this side when he's actually bowling and when David Warner can trust him to bowl a few more overs. You think this is a player that is also fighting for his place in the team, can be handy at Chennai when he does bowl.
Yes, and that's why we got very excited with him a couple of years back because we saw this guy who could bowl you 7 overs in 50 overs cricket and maybe three or if not four, and plus have that ability with the bat. Today, again, this Chennai pitch has shown that it's just slow in nature. It's not a rank turner. And you see seam bowlers who take the pace off, revel when they take the pace off. Vijay Shankar did that, got two huge wickets. But who's to tell about Vijay Shankar whether that form will continue? And so we'll have to wait and see. There are a couple of good blows that he hit in the last match as well. So all you need from Vijay Shankar is maybe, 2 or 3 good overs, dependable sort of bowling, and then a cameo with the bat. Good from Sunrisers Hyderabad. They just bowled in 3, despite
Yeah.
him being so successful. 3 for 16, I think, couple of wickets. So they didn't get too carried away with it.
I'm always curious with that when you've got 3 overs out of him, wouldn't you be tempted to bowl another fourth? It seems like it's his day. Or should you cut your losses and think that's 3 good overs? Let's not spoil it. Sanjay?
It depends.
Bish? Yeah, Bish?
Yeah, Bish.
Sorry. It depends on when that fourth over becomes available. If it's at the wrong time in the innings, let's say at the back end where maybe he isn't as good or won't be as effective, there's no problem in that type of strategy.
Also, another
Right.
thing that happens, just to get a little bit intricate about the fourth over, if Vijay Shankar realizes now this is the fourth over that has come towards the end of the innings, and all that he wants to do now is not make it a big over, and then suddenly Vijay Shankar is bowling differently from how he bowled his 3 overs, and then the outcome can be completely different, and you can rue such decisions, giving that extra bowler, which has sometimes cost captains the game.
Okay, now Warner and Best are already out there, so it's good to see them reunited at the top. It was expected, Bish, that these two would open. You'd think that they carry the big responsibility. Warner was livid with himself in the last game when he got out, even when it looked like the equation on paper was under control. You just still feel that you need these two to bat real deep if Sunrisers are to avoid any scares in the chase.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate because the rest of the batsmen there are there by right as well. But against the hard new ball, Bairstow in particular and Warner, who is in good form, will hope to make use of that, make uses deep in the power play. But let's say, God forbid, it doesn't happen. You're chasing 150. Come on, you've got some other international players in the rest of this batting order. It's not like we look up to Lara or we look up to Virat Kohli, and if they don't score, we can't score. Everyone takes responsibility.
Sanjay, thoughts on this chase? Is this going to get tricky? Or should we finally see a chase of 150 where the chasing team sees it out?
Look at the batting order of Sunrisers Hyderabad. Mumbai Indians will fancy their chances. They know they have not got enough runs on the board. But when you look at the batting order and the way Manish Pandey plays and Bairstow play, I don't think they're going to be anchoring the innings too much. And that's what you need, really. Somebody. The target is not huge. The wickets falling is going to be an issue. And I think David Warner may take that onus on himself.
Okay, keep an eye out for who walks in after Manish Pandey 3. Any tips right now as to who should bat at 4? Because in the apps, now that Best was up the order, you've got Virat Singh, Vijay Shankar, Abhishek Sharma, Abdul Samad. There's no Jason Holder this time. Sanjay Manjrekar, do you have a number 4 christened yet in this team?
Maybe Abhishek Sharma and keep Abdul Samad for late, Vijay Shankar in the middle.
Bish, that'll be the tricky part, isn't it?
What?
Who bats at 4 after 3? Unless
I can't say who will come. It depends on the situation.
Okay, Bish has stopped predicting halftime scores, Sanjay. I wonder if you're willing to have some fun with this. Sunrisers to win it, Mumbai to defend it.
I mean, just because you're asking the question, I have to answer. It's a difficult one to go
No,
with.
you don't. You can say just how Bish does. Bish says, "I will not predict."
I'm thinking Sunrisers Hyderabad may have learned their lessons from failing in these kind of run chases, and they might just have enough to get there.
You want to give me that sort of
last game.
All right. Thank you very much. Ian Bishop, Sanjay Manjrekar, let's pick up the conversation at the end of the Sunrisers chase. It's a big game for them. They've lost their opening two, both chasing. Let's see if they can break that jinx, as Sanjay points out, or will it be Mumbai Indians that managed to pick up their second win? Do join us for Maruti Suzuki Presents ESPN Cricket for T20 Time Out, powered by Intel. And our Intel Fastest Fan First is still offering you lots of prizes. So head over to the ESPN Cricket for Facebook page, answer a few questions, and you stand to win plenty. We'll see you at the end of the game then. Do join us for post-match analysis.
We call it people technology.
インテル入ってる